Greetings, everyone. So tonight I just wanted to do a video on how narcissists always have a use for you. I may have touched on this before, and if I did, I'm going to make this the number 2 video. But I was just thinking about some things that had happened in my own life, and how it was kind of sad that there are certain individuals I could not be around unless I was doing something for them. So that's what inspired this video today. Narcissists will always, always, always have a use for you. And it's basically, in some respects, it could be called conditional love. And honestly, that doesn't always happen either. But it might be like a display to you to make you feel that you're cared for and that you're loved, when in fact you're not. Not by this person or these people. And I've talked about this before, is like back in the day when I was younger, we just called these kind of people users. And I mean, I really do think that's still a good term, especially how people are really, really fighting against the narcissism term. Even just go on YouTube and look to see how many videos are titled not using the word narcissist. Or the more dangerous ones, and Dr. Ramani talks about this a lot, is what they're basically doing. I don't know if she uses this word, but they're inverting what a narcissist is. So that will make you feel crazy. You know, like trying to make their behaviors like, oh, it's not a big deal. Or maybe like they might cite someone like Freud, or, you know, to try to sound like they really know what they're talking about or whatever. And meanwhile, what they're trying to do is negate any kind of research and factual information about narcissism or just toxic behavior, basically. So if you're around a narcissist or a person that has narcissistic tendencies, you will never, 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 never go to their house without them having a use for you. Now, in my case, what used to happen a lot is I was what I call the Cinderella. And where I learned that was through Ollie Matthews. Talks about making people a Cinderella. Always working for them. You're doing the dishes for them. You're sweeping the floor for them. You're going outside to unload their car because they have a bad knee. Forget you already had 2 knee surgeries, right? That doesn't matter. You can't ever just... It's actually really sad. I'm going to talk about this one day. How little love I did get in so many instances, where if somebody really cares about you and loves you, they should want to nurture you. Like, it should be a situation in which you come over to visit them, they pour you a nice cup of coffee with some creamer, they cut you a slice of cake or slice some apples for you, and want to know what's going on in your life as well. You know, it's fine to have exchanges, you know, like what's going on with their life, or they're stressed out, but it's more of an even exchange. When you're around a more toxic, vampiric, narcissistic person, you're not going to get that. You might get like a fake empathy or compassion when they're in front of other people, but as far as true empathy and really caring about you, you'll never really get that. So when it comes to someone making you a Cinderella, you ain't stepping foot in their house unless they've got jobs for you to do. They might want you because you have a car and they don't have a car. They might want you to run to the grocery store or to the bill paying place so you can pay their bill for them. Or they might even want you to run them around like you're a chauffeur, which I've done that too. And I know back in the day when I kind of didn't understand these kind of people, I would just start to avoid them. It wasn't fun going to see them. It was like, oh, could you put this load of the laundry in the laundry for me? My knee is hurting. Could you do the dishes? I'm really tired today. I worked. You work too, but fuck you, right? So they're really good for asking for money from you when they see you. And as I look back, I realized that it didn't matter if I had a lot of money or not. Because you see, your welfare doesn't matter. Their welfare matters. They don't want to work. They don't want to do anything to bring in income for themselves. It's your job to take care of them. No shade to anyone who's not working, but you guys understand what I'm saying. It's like I'm talking about the more lazy, vampiric, using narcissistic type person. It's your job to take care of them. And you know what? When you get sick, fuck you. If you had knee surgery, fuck you. They will not be there for you. And I remember as a young person thinking about certain people that should have been there to support me and care about me and love me. They were never there. It's really sad, actually. They might be in the background and kind of, they will put it like a little bit of a fake effort to pretend as if they do care. They never did. They never will. And they never are going to care. They don't have it in them. And I still to this day am perplexed as to how full-blown narcissists are formed in families that are not that narcissistic. I don't understand it because in my family, there wasn't straight up narcissism in my parents. My dad had a little touch of being mean, but he was not a narcissist. I suppose the 2 or 3 traits that he did have was enough to cause problems. But even and my mother was married before, she had different marriages because she was very abused as a child. So, she had some trauma. But I look at my aunts and my uncles on my mother's side, even on my father's side. It didn't exist. It did not exist. So as far as narcissism, so I still don't get it. And I would love to hear, I'd love to hear social workers or psychologists or medical doctors, psychiatrists talk about how nurture versus nature. And also too how alcoholism affects these things. But if you're dealing with a narcissistic person, I can assure you that when you come to their house, they're going to have all the paint bought. They're going to have the paintbrushes set out. They're going to have the primer, whatever. Everything ready for you to paint their house. They won't even ask you. See, now that I'm older and smarter, I have boundaries. I had an incident the other day. And this is a little off topic. I was going to talk about it, but I changed my mind. Anyways, I dealt with this extremely nasty taxi driver. And I was going to go all into it, and then I said, nah, I don't really want to go all into it. But with him, it was entitlement. He was asking me, I only knew him for 5 minutes, and he was a real bastard, real misogynist. And when I tell you guys I was sick from chemo, I was sick. And I didn't want to deal with it. And I've decided that if ever this happens to me again, I'm just going to tell the person, I don't feel well, would you please stop talking? If it offends them, I really don't care. Because, it's the people that blab and they blab and they blah, 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 blah. I don't like people like that. They just want to talk just to talk. And they babble and they babble. They don't listen to words you say. Or if they're trying to extract information. So this guy was trying to extract extremely personal information from me. And I told him, I'm not comfortable discussing that. And that was it. So it's not, with this particular guy, it wasn't like he didn't have in a way, maybe he had a use for me. I don't know. But it was related. So I'm talking about boundaries. So back to talking about setting a boundary. So nowadays, first of all, I probably won't be in a situation like that mostly. But like, let's say somebody tried to trick me into painting their house for free. Don't buy pizza, don't do anything for me, none of that. Like I'm their little slave. I'll walk out. Because that's my boundary. I'll walk out, they can get mad, whatever. I don't care. It's not my problem. I really have a dislike for people that do things like that. It's rude, it's disrespectful, and they clearly don't give an F about your welfare. They might, let me think. Oh, another one that's a really good Cinderella one. Babysitting. Let's just say I did a lot of babysitting when I was younger. Could be family members, it could be friends of family. They will use the shit out of you. They won't pay you. They will tell you, I'll be back at 2 a.m, and then they don't show up all night. Well, you're watching 3 toddlers or 3 children under 6 years old and you're only 9. It's disgusting. And I actually did have something like this happen in my adult life when I was in my early 20s, so-called friend. Well, you guys already know I love children. I didn't have them. I may go into that one day, but I wanted them. And it's like, so I was 26, all buck 26, looking all cute in my little 26-year-old body and all that. You know how you look all cute when you're in that age. And I had a friend who was about, I don't know, a few months younger than me or something like that. She had 3 young children. And I agreed to babysit for her once. And that was it. Wait, did I babysit more than one time? I don't remember. I might have babysat more than one time, but not very many times. Her and her boyfriend had the audacity. So I, at the time, was renting a studio. It was all I could afford. Very super cute studio. I was newly divorced and having a good time in life. The oldest was 3 years old. The middle child was about 12 months, 13 months old. And then the baby was like 8 months or something. Now, the agreement was it wasn't going to be for a long period of time. So I had fixed my studio real super nice. So my friend, she's a former friend, by the way. My friend and her boyfriend dropped the kids off. Like, it was really hot. It was July, I'm going to say, I don't know, 1994, 95, something like that. And, just enough diapers to last, right? And, we played little games or whatever. I didn't take them outside because my studio, like, there was you guys, if you remember those kind of like fire escapey stairwells that would go up the side of the building, that was what you had to go up to get to my apartment. It was like 1 story up. So I wasn't going to take the kids out because I didn't want to take a chance of, there really wasn't a yard or anything. So we just played little games and stuff, and it was hard to entertain children that young, right? But I am pretty good at it. The agreement was something like they'll come pick the kids up at 9 or 10 o'clock. So it would have been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, which is a lot. It's a really long time to watch little ones like that. And, I had full capacity and abilities to watch children. I always did. I was watching them all the time when I was young because my nieces and nephews were all very close in age and younger. I was always forever watching children. So anyways, I remember this so distinctly. So I really liked this friend. She was a New Yorker, and we used to do background singing together. I have a really interesting life, actually. Uh, and so they were going to go to the casino and have a good time. They just need a little break and whatever to have fun. And mind you, there's only a certain amount of diapers, right? These bastards had the nerve. And I want to add to that my apartment was very hot. So I was newly on my own. I didn't have the kind of money to get an air conditioner. That wouldn't help things, but I didn't have it. So, the only thing to do was to open the windows, with screens, of course, to air it out. But it was just really warm, and I had radiator heat. So they left me here with these 3 toddlers overnight. I just about lost my shit, man. And I ran out of diapers, and I forgot what I had to do. I think I just had to kind of try to clean the diaper out a little bit because I didn't have more diapers. You guys, you can be creative. I had to clean it out as best I could so the baby didn't suffer. And then I was running out of formula and all kinds of stuff. It was just a complete mess. It was a disaster. And back then I was even feistier than I am now because, youth, right? I was angry that I didn't even know how to even assert it. Oh, I forgot to mention they stole my car too. Oh, that's a whole long story. It was just so bad, you guys. They just took advantage of me in so many ways. And yeah, I'll talk about the car part another day. It's a whole long story. It's why you have to be careful of who you trust. They stole my car. They had the keys, so it's not like I could prove that they stole it, because if they have the keys, but they didn't have my permission to go running around in my car. And it was a mess. I just thought of that. Trying to remember if that happened at the same time. I think it did. And that was what they were using as an excuse to not come home. They were going to abandon my car like in Illinois, which was like a state away. It was just crazy. It was just bad. And I was so angry and upset. And then I think I had food to give the little ones, but the baby needed more formula, and everybody, they were all crying. It was such a bad situation. And to make a long story short, shortly thereafter, I completely cut that friendship off. And, she was stealing from me. It was just, she was like not a good person. And she cried when I cut it off, but I'm like, what did you expect? I didn't say it, but that is a person that is looking to use other people. She had a use for me. She wasn't a real friend. She tried to act like she was my real friend, but real friends don't do that to friends. And there was more stuff she did, real dirty stuff. I think she thought because I was from Wisconsin, like Midwestern girl, and she was from New York, like she could play me or something, and that didn't work. By that point, I had lived all around the world. I'd lived in Germany. I'd lived in Texas. I'd been on the East Coast. I'd been on the West Coast. Spoke a little of 2 languages. I didn't fall off the bus. But because I was trying to be kind-hearted, she was going to just run with it, right? So you have people like that. And, making me a Cinderella was a big, huge one for a lot of people. Oh, you're so good with art. You can paint this. You can paint that. Just because I know how to paint, because my father taught me how to paint. And then later on down the line, I just realized they were saying those things just to butter me up so I would just do their work. No pay. Not that it necessarily would have had to be like cash payment, but to completely take advantage of someone like that is disgusting. And at the time, one of the times somebody was asking me to paint, my knees were in a bad way. And it was a big joke to them. Of course, they didn't make it in the military. I did. Facts. So, it's like, it doesn't matter like what it is. They will have a use for you. Oh, you're really good at typing? I can get you to do this. And it doesn't mean that every single person that like sees your talents and abilities are necessarily a user. But when you see somebody doing this left and right, like it's really something to be careful of. Because if you have a real true friendship, you should be able to go over to their house, or let's say it's your auntie. And if your auntie really cares about you and truly loves you, you should be able to go there. Your aunt should be able to make you a cup of tea and a piece of coffee cake or a muffin or fruit, whatever. And you guys sit down and talk about what's going on in your life. That's it. Now, it's not that you might not help your auntie sometimes. She's a little older, and you do it from your heart. That's different. But if you're around this person, it's like always they've got something for you to do. You should run. And without going too deep into it, there are a lot of adults that just use the children so badly. I can't stand it. I really can't. But rest assured, that person will always have something for you to do. You will watch their dog. You will watch their toddler. You will clean the sidewalls of their house. You will clean their house because they're just too busy. They're just too busy. They got shit to do. They're so important. You're not important though, right? And it's always to discern that you're down here and they're up here. You're down here, they're up here. And I'm going to go just a little into boundaries. It's not exactly, well, I mean, I guess it would go under use for you. A few years ago, I had this job. It was actually a really good job. I got fired from it later, which was the best in the end. But I'd run into this, it was working at a veteran's place. And there was this other veteran. He really liked me, but it was like, I was just learning about narcissism then. So I was really, really, really understanding stuff. And also, too, because I'm an empath / I'm a social worker by trade. For years, I've been drawing people, to me that want help, right? We all know this. A lot of us here are empaths. So it's about, you've got to have boundaries or else you'll be saving every sick puppy. You'll be trying to rescue every child you see and rescue everyone in need. And more, people can sense that. And some people, they're not using you. They want help. But other people are straight up using you or trying to use you. And I learned boundaries in social work. You have to. And that goes for nursing, police work. You guys all know. Doctors, we all know. But anyhow, I barely knew this guy and he was telling me all about his divorce, which I didn't want to hear about. And I could just tell, Narc City, right? I could just feel, there are so many red flags on this guy. He should have had a freaking billboard. Red and white, red flag, red flag, red flag. Right? And he starts going into this whole story about his ex-wife this, his ex-wife that, blah, 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 blah. Now, mind you, it's in the break room of this workplace, right? So I can't even get a breath from the stressful job. I got to hear this bullshit, right? So usually what I wound up doing later is I just wouldn't go into the break room, or I would wear headphones or whatever. I don't know. And you know what? You guys know what I did? It was my boundary. Oh, there's this hotline. I told him there was this hotline, which was true. Vets for Warriors. Show did. And then I walked out. So you gotta have boundaries. And even though, like, sometimes you might be a little bit lonely, I think it's kind of like that old saying, it's lonely at the top. In a way, it is kind of lonely at the top. I mean, to me, that feels like the top as far as, you're deciphering boundaries and you're creating your heaven on earth, right? I'm working on letting more people in to help me now that I'm going through chemo, because I need it. I really do. I'm doing good today, by the way. Just want to let you guys know. And I'm going to go more into detail in a few days about this. I don't really want to talk about it right now just because my mind is, I just don't. So if someone has a use for you, they want you to fix their car for free. They want you to steal goods for them at your workplace. Whatever it is, which you shouldn't do anyways. They want you to buy, I've gone through this. Anyone who's worked retail knows this, because that's just amongst hundreds of jobs I've done. If you work at a retail outlet, you can get people a discount. Well, you can get yourself a discount, but you're always going to get those people that want to use it. And, like, maybe you could buy 1 or 2 items for your mom or something, without taking advantage of your retail discount. But there will be people that want to completely exploit that. And you've got to say no. I can't help but think of what Cat Williams. You just got to say no to Diddy. But you got to learn boundaries. So my boundaries are better than they've been in the past. But with that nasty, disgusting, filthy, low-life scumbag taxi driver, oh my God. I so wanted to go into that, but I don't know. I debated with myself. I'm like, what's the point of me putting this story out, I just got to let it go and just decide what needs healing in me that I want to talk about that. But anyways, they always have a use for you. Peace.